Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Swiss NBA Sunday. We got two games. We got a series just starting and a series coming to an end. I'm actually recording this right before the Nuggets-Suns game tips off, so I can't tell you how we did last night yet. Hopefully I have good news to report. But let's take a look at these two games right now. Let's go.
Welcome to the Swiss. The Swiss. Hey, get the Swiss.
First up, New York Knicks time. Miami Heat on the road in New York in the Mecca. Game one. Total opens up at 207, low total. Line opens up Knicks -5. This line drops down to 4.5 super early. It's actually still at 5 on some books, but the consensus line is now 4.5. We got a pros versus public look here. Public definitely on the Miami Heat. Sharp action definitely on New York. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be New York -6.3. So looking at about a 2-point lead on the Knicks, but like I said in the previous videos, we're tossing the model out for the playoffs. So let's break down this matchup here, and the Knicks got lucky, and I'm not talking about they got to play the 8 seed instead of the 1 seed. That's not what I'm referring to. They got lucky in the sense that they get to play another poor rebounding team. This hasn't been talked about too much, but since the All-Star break, the Knicks have been the best rebounding team in the NBA. They're 7th in offensive rebounding rate and 1st in defensive ORB. Despite having the twin towers of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, Cleveland is actually not a good rebounding team. They're just 16th in ORB, 30th in DORB. Miami, 20th in ORB, 23rd in DORB. So Knicks get another poor rebounding opponent. So the Knicks should really dominate the glass again in this series. And I don't think people realize how important rebounding is to winning basketball games. I mean, take a look at the Knicks last series. They won the rebounding battle in game 1, 3, 4, and 5. What do you know? Those are their 4 wins. Next up, let's take a look at shot distributions here. And the Knicks offense kind of flipped things up. Since the All-Star break, the second half of the season, Knicks were taking a lot of outside shots, definitely reliant on the 3 ball. In the first round against Cleveland, they were attacking the rim. It almost doesn't make sense because the Cavs have an elite interior defense, but the Knicks took 37.6% of their field goal attempts at the basket. That's first. That's the most of any playoff team in the first round. And you know what? They should stick to that plan because Miami's interior defense has not been good. Second half of the regular season since the All-Star break, just 26 in the NBA protecting the basket. In the first round of the playoffs, just 14th out of the 16 playoff teams. That definitely gives me a couple prop ideas. It makes me look at RJ Barrett and Josh Hart. Those guys are number 2 and number 3 on the Knicks in shot frequency at the rim behind Mitchell Robinson. Barrett's point total set at 18.5. It's a little steep. Josh Hart's point total hasn't even opened yet. So I'm looking at Josh Hart. I just want to see where it opens first. As far as the Heat offense goes, it really hasn't changed much. They were a mid-range shooting team in the regular season. Still a mid-range shooting team now. From the All-Star break on regular season, they were 8th in mid-range frequency. First round of the playoffs, they were 2nd of the 16 playoff teams. But guess what? In the first round, the Knicks defense was 3rd defending the mid-range shot. You want to know who plays for the Heat that takes a lot of their shots from the mid-range? Jimmy Butler. His point total is set at 30.5. Under. You guys know I'm a Knicks fan, but if you watch this channel over the year, you know that I have no problem fading the Knicks. I try to do a good job of being objective, but I truly like the matchup for New York here. So give me New York -4.5. All right, so prop-wise, as you already guessed, I'm taking Jimmy Butler under 30.5 points. I also like Max Strus over 2.5 3-pointers at +125. Forgot to mention this earlier. I think the Knicks defense is going to collapse a little, and that should open up some opportunities for Miami's outside shooters. I'm picking Max Strus, but I would take any of them. But anyway, New York -4.5. Jimmy Butler under 30.5 points. Max Strus over 2.5 3-pointers. And I like Josh Hart's scoring total over 2, but it just hasn't opened yet. As far as the game total, I like the over. I know it opened at 207. That's going to scare some people, especially looking at the scores from the Knicks-Cavs series. But I'm telling you, Cleveland was the team slowing down the pace a lot. This Knicks team can score, and they have no problem running a fast pace. We've seen it a lot this year. So I'm going to rock with the over in game 1 at 207. Next up, game 7. Golden State's in Sacramento. We already know what it is. Total opens up at 229.5. This line opens up Sacramento +1. This line's been on the move a little bit here, so it moves to Sacramento +1.5, but then it swings 3 points the other way. We're now looking at Kings -1.5. Public slightly leaning Golden State, not crazy. Money's pretty a lot closer to even. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be Sacramento +2.98. So that's definitely a lean on Golden State. But like I said, we're tossing the model out for the playoffs. This is going to be a short one, and you already know where I'm going with it. I've bet the Kings 6 straight times in this series. I'm sitting at 4-2 against the spread with it. Looking to make it 5-2. It's not that I think Sacramento's the better team. I've said a number of times in this series, when both teams bring their best basketball, I think we're looking at a coin flip, which is why we've seen such a fun series so far. I know it's game 7 and it's tense and you want to lean towards taking the more experienced team in Golden State. I get it. But actually, just during this tenure, this Steph Curry, Clay, Draymond, during this tenure, they actually haven't seen a ton of game 7s. In fact, the Warriors are just 2-2 in game 7s, and they haven't had one in over 5 years. So it's not like the Warriors are just, oh man, Golden State in game 7, gotta take them. Hasn't been the case. I'm curious to see what Steve Kerr does with the rotation. Jordan Poole has started over Draymond Green in 4 games in a, well, 3. He was suspended for 1. But Jordan Poole has started the last 4 games, and then Golden State won 3 in a row, so he stuck with it. But they looked bad in game 6, and Jordan Poole was terrible, 2 of 11 from the floor. So I'm curious to see if Draymond gets back in the starting lineup. That really doesn't affect the handicap at all for me. I'm kind of just rambling. I'm just curious to see what he does with that. The only prop I have right now is Kevin Huerter, and he's been so cold in this series. But in the second half of game 6, he seemed to have found himself a little bit. Keep in mind, this is a guy who averaged over 15 points a game in the regular season. His point total's at 11.5, and you get the over at plus 100. Even if Huerter comes out and he's just average, which he hasn't been in this series, but even if he comes out in his average, he still should go over this total. So I'm on the Kings. Give me Sacramento minus 1.5. I'm also taking the over at 229. This total's gone back and forth. I rock with the under in game 6. I'm rolling with the over in game 7. And give me Kevin Huerter over 11.5 points. Let's go King. If anything changes with any of these, I will let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. Also, if you want the final ticket, which has exactly what I'm betting and how much, as well, I do a same game parlay for each game. If you're interested in that, head over to KyleKirms.com. NBA playoff basketball, round 1 comes to a close. Let's have ourselves a great Sunday. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you on Twitter.